Welcome to the Bayer Vegetation Management Stewardship Learning Series. This learning series consists of various modules addressing common topics of stewardship. This module will focus on understanding herbicide product labels. In this module, we will discuss what product labels are and why they are important, and we will review some of the various types of herbicide product labels, including federal EPA labels and state requirements for labels. In addition, we will discuss the contents of product labels and how they can help you achieve an effective application. Let's start by discussing the purpose of product labels and why they are important. Federal law, outlined in the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, or FIFRA, F-I-F-R-A, states that all herbicides used in the United States must be registered or licensed by the EPA. Registration ensures herbicides will be properly labeled and provide clear information regarding worker protection, proper product use, important restrictions, and precautions on use. Product labels provide critical information, and users must read and understand the entire product label before using a product. It is critical to read and understand a herbicide product label. Here are some of the reasons why. First, herbicide product registrations and labels go through a rigorous approval process by the EPA and are enforceable by federal and state government regulatory authorities. In fact, the EPA requires that all product labels include the statement, "It is a violation of federal law to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its labeling." Simply put, the label is the law. Additionally, product labels include critical information for worker protection. This includes items such as first aid statements, re-entry intervals, which is the amount of time after an application that a treated area is restricted to entry, and personal protective equipment. Labels also provide detailed information for use restrictions and precautions to avoid adverse effects from applications and use. Finally, following the application instructions on the label helps you avoid applying too much product that could lead to unintended consequences or too little product which could impact efficacy. Now that you understand the purpose and importance of product labels, we'll discuss some of the various types of labels that you may come across. There are various types or formats of federal EPA product labels. In this module, we will focus on product labels and special registration labels. Examples of other labels include master labels, which are the EPA-approved labels, and specimen labels, which are printed labels that may include all approved uses for a product, or may be subsets of master labels providing limited geographic or use-specific directions. For more information about specific labels, visit the CDMS website or visit the Bayer website at bayervm.com. Let's begin by discussing product labels. Product labels are labels that are physically attached to the product containers. These labels must be securely affixed to either the herbicide product container itself or contained in attached booklets. These labels may contain all product uses included on the master labels, or they may be sublabels, meaning that they contain only some of the uses on the master labels. Special registration labels are additive labeling which may include newly approved uses, use directions, or other instructions which have been added and have received EPA approval since the most recently EPA-approved label. Special registration labels are required to include a reference to the product label. Depending on individual state requirements, users at the time of application may be obligated to have the product label with them in addition to supplemental labels. Some examples of special registration labels include supplemental, 24C 2EE, and emergency exemption from registration, or Section 18. These labels can be viewed at the CDMS website. In addition to EPA requirements, herbicides are also regulated at the state level with state agencies enforcing herbicide regulations and label requirements through agreements with the EPA. Product labels are submitted to and reviewed by state, tribal, and local regulatory agencies and must be approved before the product can be sold or used in the state. In some cases, specific state requirements are included on product labels. So far, we have discussed the importance and types of herbicide product labels. For the remainder of the module, we will discuss the content of labels with a focus on the key information found on every product label, including the ingredient statement, precautionary statements, and the label's directions for use section. Please note, in this module, we are only covering some of the information found on EPA-approved product labels. It is your responsibility to understand other legal and regulatory obligations that may affect or limit use of a herbicide product, such as state labeling restrictions and/or local or county bulletins. The EPA provides extensive information on product labels and their contents in the link shown on the screen. Of course, if you have any questions about the label, contact the manufacturer. The ingredient statement is normally required to appear on the front panel of the product label, usually below the product brand name. This statement identifies the chemical names and percentage by weight of each active ingredient found in the product. Active ingredients are the chemicals in the herbicide that prevent, control, or suppress the target pest or pests. Additionally, the label identifies the total percentage by weight of other inert ingredients in the product. The precautionary statements on the label describe potential human and environmental hazards that could result from use of the product and also provide treatment instructions and information to reduce the potential for exposure when using the product. While precautionary statements cover many topics relating to hazards, we will focus on 3 precautionary statements: signal words, personal protective equipment or PPE, and first aid. There are 3 signal words that may appear on labels: caution, warning, and danger. Each herbicide product goes through a variety of studies to determine the toxicity category of the product to humans, and the signal word is assigned based on the results of those studies. It is important to note the level of toxicity in relation to the signal word. For example, when caution is used, the product has a lower toxicity. The signal word warning is used when products have a moderate level of toxicity, and danger is used with products that have a high level of toxicity. Typically included with the precautionary statement, the personal protective equipment or PPE information for a product explains the skin, inhalation, and eye protection that must be worn by handlers and applicators of the product if necessary. This includes a detailed list of the items an applicator and others are required to wear when using the product. Precautionary statements for herbicide uses include PPE requirements that are covered under the Worker Protection Standards, or WPS, and are based on the toxicity of the product. For example, product labels containing the signal words danger or warning may require that applicators wear more PPE than a product label with the signal word caution. To ensure your safety, be sure to review and follow the PPE requirements on the label before handling the product. The first aid statements on the label provide instructions in the event that a person is accidentally exposed to the herbicide based on the results of the toxicity studies mentioned before. Remember that these statements are only the first aid, and you should always call the emergency number listed on the label, a doctor, or a poison control center. The label's Direction for Use section contains critical information related to how the product must and must not be used in accordance with the law. In fact, the Directions for Use section on all herbicide product labels will begin with the statement, "It is a violation of federal law to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its labeling." We will discuss 3 key parts of the Directions for Use section of the label now: formulation and mixing, product application and equipment use, and storage and disposal. Keep in mind that in order to comply with the law, ensure proper product stewardship, and maximize the likelihood of product efficacy, you must carefully read all of the information found in the Directions for Use. The label includes detailed information about whether the product is dry or a liquid and whether the formulation is ready to use or a concentrate. In the case of concentrated product, pay careful attention to the label instructions including weights or volume measurements for mixing, as well as adjuvant and tank mixture instructions. The product application section of the label identifies the labeled uses of the product, or which use sites of the herbicide product are legally permitted, how the product works, application timing and use rates, application methods, and a listing of the pests that can be prevented, controlled, or suppressed by the selected product. Additionally, this section contains detailed information on the proper equipment use related specifically to spray equipment, spray drift management, and sprayer cleanup. This information may be different based on the types of sites where the product is being applied. For instance, a herbicide may have precautions or restrictions preventing application on certain types of land or may require buffers between the application area and certain non-target areas. You are responsible for understanding the appropriate application and equipment requirements allowed by the label and complying with this regarding the site you plan to treat. A final key part of the label's Directions for Use section are storage and disposal instructions for the product and its container. Included in this are details on how to store a product, how to dispose of leftover herbicide, depending on the product and container, how to clean empty containers, and ways to dispose of empty containers depending on recycling and reconditioning options. As we conclude this module, let's review some of the main messages you have seen and heard. First, and most importantly, the label is the law when it comes to using herbicides. It is your responsibility to remain in compliance with all directions and information found on the label. Aside from the legal obligation to follow the label, you can also optimize the effectiveness of your applications by reading and understanding the information found in the Directions for Use section. Further, precautionary statements provide important information on potential human and environmental hazards, as well as worker protection. You should be aware of any signal words, proper personal protective equipment, PPE, and first aid information on the label. And finally, remember it is always better to ask than to assume. Contact the manufacturer if you have any questions relating to the handling and use of the herbicide. Congratulations, you have now completed this learning module on understanding herbicide product labels. Please answer the following questions to confirm your understanding of the material we discussed.